'Tis I, David Small of Team Small Robots, coming at you with another destruction debrief. Haha. We're gonna put this away. So today's destruction debrief is going to be Banshee versus Valkyrie, the deadly undercutter of Norse mythology. So after the switchback fight, we kind of gathered around and said, "All right, now we're fighting up against Valkyrie. How are we going to handle this? Are we going to survive? You know, Valkyrie's a scary undercutter. It won most destructive last year. How are we going to come out of this in one piece?" So the plan was to equip Banshee with our plow. This is a big chunky wedge that we put on the robot. That's just a solid quarter-inch of AR 500, super durable stuff, practically bulletproof. And we would use that as a shield to defend ourselves against Valkyrie's undercutter. When we got a look at Valkyrie and what their configuration was going to be like, we saw that they took this wedgelet and had it extruding out from the front of the robot diagonally like this to block our wedge from getting to their weapon. That way they could get under us, thwart the use of our wedge, and then do some damage underneath our robot. So at first glance, I didn't think it would work. Honestly, if I'm being totally honest. But I do think that it's really cool that they're trying new things and experimenting with unique ideas like that. Because who knows, maybe they would have proved me totally wrong and it would have worked perfect. But you don't know until you try. So it takes some guts to experiment like that. So I'm glad that they're doing things like that. So we're also concerned if we'd be able to self-right with the wedge or not because it's really heavy. So we took it to the test box and did a quick flip test and confirmed that we can indeed self-right. If we were to get flipped upside down, we'd be good to go. So with all that taken care of, we filled up the air tanks, got the robots ready, and took it to the box. So without further ado, let's jump right into the match. So as soon as the match began, I put the pedal to the metal and I flew across the arena at Banshee's blazing speed. This is the speed that Banshee's supposed to be at every single time it fights. It shot across the arena in like a second or something like that, completely plowed into Valkyrie's weapon and stopped them from spinning up just as planned. Everything went perfect with that. Then I was able to fire the flipper a few times, shot them up a few feet back, flipped them over, and got them pinned up on the screws as well. Then, as I backed off, they were upside down, and everything was looking great for Banshee so far. After Valkyrie came down from the screws, I was able to land another flip. So, this might be my favorite photo of the entire event. It's got Valkyrie getting flipped up in the air, Banshee's doing its thing, the robot's working perfectly, and it's all accumulated into this one photo to really show off what the robot can do. So then, after a little bit of back and forth between shoving Valkyrie around the arena and trying to maneuver around their blade, got another big ram in that caused their wedge or their wedgelet to completely bend into their own weapon, and the whole thing just exploded off. So that was pretty cool. Um, After that, I got, I think, one more good ram in, and then things started to go downhill from there. Banshee's issue of the drive ESCs overheating has surfaced again. They are screaming for help, trying not to catch on fire, and in return, Banshee starts crawling instead of running. So, unfortunately, the speed of Banshee has now dropped to like 2 miles per hour, and it's barely moving. But on the bright side, it looked like Valkyrie was also starting to suffer a little bit. Their drive seemed to be kicking out as well. They weren't as zippy as they were at the beginning of the fight. So, it just goes to show that brushless drive in a heavyweight is a very complicated thing to do, and it takes a lot of practice and experience to get it down right. But we'll get there someday. So then, after 2 minutes or so of just awkwardly crawling around at a snail's pace and barely slapping into each other, the match draws to a close, and the judges debated, and the winner was Banshee. So that means I just scored my very first win as a rookie robot. That's such a huge deal for me to actually build something and it won a fight. That was a major check for me. And then for it to be against a robot with as big as a legacy as Valkyrie has, that's just insane. I mean, they might not have been firing on all cylinders, but still, to say I have a win against Valkyrie is a pretty big deal. So I'm very excited about that. So now let's talk about the damage we suffered during the fight. The only damage we took was really the ESCs overheating, and none of that was really Valkyrie's doing. There are a lots of scrapes and scratches all over the robot. The decals got a little messed up, but there really wasn't any big major hits Valkyrie inflicted to us. The wedge did a great job of deflecting those hits. Shout out to my teammate Kevin for welding that wedge in such a strong way that it was able to deflect Valkyrie no problem. And it turned out great. I'm super impressed with how the robot is holding up, especially against a robot like Valkyrie, who won most destructive in the past. So once I heard we were fighting Valkyrie, who won most destructive, it was like, oh, I might need a bag to bring my robot out. But for it to survive the full 3 minutes with one of the most destructive robots in the sport shows that Banshee's got a decent amount of durability to it. All right, I've got one little knickknack to show you all real quick. So this very beautiful piece of metal is the wedgelet mount that mounted Valkyrie's wedgelet to the rest of the robot. This is what held. I think it's like it's normally orientated like this with the front of the robot, and then the wedgelet goes down to the ground like that. So we crashed into the wedgelet, the whole thing ripped off, and only this remained. And they were kind enough to mail it to me as a present, a little trophy. It's just this gorgeous piece of billet aluminum. It's anodized into this gorgeous blue color. It's just a beautiful part. You can see we have Valkyrie versus Banshee 2022 on the top. Lucy, the captain of Valkyrie, was nice enough to sign it as well, and then Banshee written on the side here. So this is a fantastic piece of memorabilia. It'll go on my trophy shelf for sure. And it's I mean I couldn't ask for a more beautiful trophy for my first heavyweight victory. So thank you again, Lucy, Alex, and the rest of Team Valkyrie for this wonderful present. So that about does it for the Banshee versus Valkyrie Destruction Debrief. The next episode, I think, is not going to just be Emulsifier, but I'm going to cover Emulsifier and Blip at the same time. There's a reason for that, but you'll have to find out later as to why that is. But speaking of Emulsifier, there is one thing I'd like to bring up. So this is, or was, one of Banshee's top panels. You can see it is extremely bent. That's like almost 90 degrees. It's supposed to be a totally flat piece of metal, but this is some pretty gnarly damage that Emulsifier did to us in our fight against them. This piece is going on eBay. You can see we have the back of it signed by me and a few of the other Banshee team members. So if you want a cool piece of Banshee that has some of the art, some of the sponsor stickers, this would be a great little piece to add to your heavyweight collection. So I'll put a link in the description for the auction. I think it still has 3 or 4 days left on it, so plenty of time to place a bid. And of course, all the proceeds from it will go towards Banshee version 2. And we will make the robot better and faster in any way we can. So keep an eye out for that. Stay tuned and subscribe to see more heavyweight content, more Banshee stuff, and I'll see you all next time.